Sorry for the cutoff. So I think sensitive information from the system was displayed on the screen, and so it interrupted the video recording, and that's why you could hear me talk but did not see my screen for a bit. So sorry about that. But either way, nothing stops. I open a project in my preferred ID, and then automatically IntelliJ resolve the dependencies for me. However, if your ID does not resolve the dependency, I don't know, or if your IntelliJ doesn't, you want to go at the end here or look for, usually it's at the end, right? And sometimes it's hidden. You have like a 3 bar here that you have to click for it to come. Either way, you find the place where you have the margin and you click there, and then you have to click in the project, and then you go to the life cycle, and then you can clean, and then you can install, and it's going to attempt to resolve the dependencies manually. You can also verify, but I think it's clean and then install. So most of the times, and even when you get a dependency stop, it will usually be between clean and install, maybe even and verify, something like that. Or better still, you don't do that. You come here and you click this button here, which is saying sync and load all Maven projects, and it's going to resync the entire thing, right? So something like that. So you can do that, but for most of the cases, you have IntelliJ automatically resolve the dependencies for you. That said, this is the structure of your project. If you're new to Java, you see this is your IntelliJ IDEA. This is a folder for your IDEA. So you have .idea, and one of the first thing you want to do is the git ignore. And as you can see, it's already created for us with various information in the git ignore. So all of these are repositories, files, and other artifacts that will be ignored when using Git. This particular, where I place this is version controlled using Git locally, which is why you see them automatically ignoring, as there's, you see, automatically ignored all of the chosen repositories / files. For example, the .idea was included there, and you see it's this orange like color. So you also have all of them, the attributes and stuff, they are all in there somewhere. So if you search well, you should see them somewhere there, and that's why they're all ignored, right? So that's important. However, not all of them are here, even though they're showing this. So for example, this one is slightly different. It's more of a reddish color. It leans more on the reddish color than just the pure orange color, and this means that I have not yet staged them in my Git repository. So if you see things like this, you should not be scared, and that's what the color is going to tell you about it. We also have a help me, right? Help.md, that's going to give you some basic information. And then we have the pom file where all your dependencies are found and where we are going to be adding dependencies where needed. We have the dependency area. This is where your dependency is going to go. Normally we have the Spring Starter Pack, which is the Spring Framework book, the Tomcat server, the Web MVC, which is for which we definitely included, and then the JPA, Data JPA, right? And we also have the test for the Web MVC. So you can also add plugins where required. Here we have all the external libraries which will be included in this project, and at the end here, right here, and here is your Maven wrapper, and so this allows you to run Maven. So we have this is the most important section, which is where your files and your programs are found. So you can see you have the source folder and you have the main. You have two folders within the source folder, the main and the test. So In the test section is where we're going to be writing our test cases when we are going to create that series, which is this series is going to branch out into a test, which I'm going to create another series from it, which is going to be detailed on testing. We're going to look at very important testing strategies and some other details regarding testing. So this is where all your test codes will go and all your tests will run. Okay, we're going to look at that in the future. However, this is where we are going to be spending most of our time in the main folder. This is where your Java code is going to go, and this is where, so you're going to have two folders in the Java, where your main code is going to go. As you can see, you have the main application here, and you have the SFLL application, and then the servlet initializer. And then we have the static and the template. So there we have it. I'll show why we have that servlet initializer. Yeah, I think this is all we need. Okay. Okay. So this is our main application, where, as you can see, it's already loaded right up here. And if we run this application, this should spin up Tomcat server, and then we get the famous so Spring, and it fails immediately. So obviously it says error application display condition evaluation report. We run your application with debug enabled. So data source. So okay, it's okay. This is failing just because we have not yet done some configurations, but don't worry. And that is mostly because we included a JPA here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So we included JPA, and it requires you to add a source. Okay, so if we have to remove both, and then we start that application. Okay, so we resolve dependencies, then we try again. I hope this time it should go. Yes, so it is running now. As you can see, it started the application some minutes ago at port 8080, and so the application is running. However, if we on JPA, we will need to initialize it and send. That's in order to work with your database. So that's why we had that error previously. So we can end the application now. So your application should be working just fine. You can end the application now, and we can also remove that comment and resolve the dependencies again. And this is where your main application is like. This is your entry point to your entire application, and this is where most of your code, all your code, will go when building the API. And then this second section where the resources is where you have some two folders where you have the templates. This is mostly for where you have like templates kind of code. What I've not used this for a while. What used to go here? I think TimeLeaf, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, TimeLeaf. If you're using like TimeLeaf, I think you put it here. Yes, I think so. I think I once used this. I know it's been a while. And when you have like HTML, CSS, static, and so this is where they go. Right? This is where your static. This is where your static files go. And then you have very important one, the application of property. This is where your configuration for this application is going to work, and this is where we're going to do basic configuration for Spring. You can define ports. You can define a lot of things. You can define as path matcher. So you can define a lot of things. But what we want to do is database configuration. Data source, there we go. And yeah, as you can see, I'm using autopilot. Okay, and this is a basic configuration that we wanted to do. I think the GDL auto BBC driver, but I don't think good class MySQL BBC driver. pom.MySQL. I don't know why. Anyway, so I think Hibernate update auto, auto update, show SQL true. Is that the one? MySQL dialect, Hibernate dialect, MySQL JPA property Hibernate dialect. Let's see. It's been a while since I used some of these configurations. And oh, by the way, this is not my password. Of course, I'm going to have demo passwords and this stuff. But essentially, this one is not supposed to. It's supposed to have. So what I will simply do is Google. Yes. I know you might be asking, well, you don't know it off. Well, nobody knows all of these things off of its mind. So I could Google, I could ask GPT. Again, it's same thing. Okay. So you could Google Spring Data Source config region properties, right? And obviously you have this for Postgres. You do this for Postgres data source URL. Yeah, that's MySQL. And yeah, so it's not. I know it's not a problem. You can also go to the Spring documentation. Okay, I think data access is data source URL JDBC HTML address source name. JDBC localhost test. Second explanation of that's connecting two data sources. I don't want to make this video extremely long, so I'm going to try my best to reduce. Yeah, so I don't know why. Why will it? Oh, I see. So very important. Yeah, so this was supposed to work. This is supposed to work, but I'm calling a dependency which I've not included, which is very important that I make these mistakes, because if you go to the pom file, we don't have any MySQL, and I'm trying to use MySQL. So what we have is all the data, all the JDBC configuration. However, this is not a JDBC. This is not a JPA configuration. This is a MySQL configuration. We're supposed to call this one MySQL. So we have to add MySQL dependency. Google MySQL Spring Dependence. Having MySQL connector Java, which is MySQL connector J. So I think MySQL connector Java. That's where located. This has moved, so it's sent to MySQL connector J. Yes. Category. And then not sure which one is the best to use, but it's always advisable to use the latest. Not the latest, the most stable. So we're going to use version 4.9.4, which I think. Anyway, let's just take the best, the most recent of them all. I'm going to click on it, and then we're going to copy that dependency right there. So that's for Maven, and then we are going to go there. I'm going to go to home file, and within the dependency, I'm just going to, I always like to create space, right? So it shows me what I'm adding here. So I'm going to resolve that dependency. Go scope compile. I'm just going to move that. I think I have. Oh, well, you can put the scope there. Could not transfer. What am I doing? Also shows is found Maven.org. Yeah, this, I hate it when this does. I hate it when this does this. Really do. No, not really. I really just want to. I really just want to install this. Well, I don't actually want to install this because no, I don't want to install this because it's installing. That's not what I wanted to do. Yes, it's not what I wanted to do. Let's clean. So we're going to clean all of that. It's going to remove that. And what's going to happen? Download source and verify. Validate, compile, test, package, verify. Did verify. Yeah, it should be verified. There we go. Then, yeah, still have the problem, which is saying build fail, fail to execute Spring Maven the source file, blah blah blah. Targets of, I'm really not concerned about that. But what I wanted to go was this. So right now you see the dependency has cleared, right? I'm thinking if I reload all of these all Maven projects, it's going to do a lot, quite a lot. I don't want that. But I also don't want these. I think that's dependencies, right? That's dependencies. Either way, fix the issue, right? But we don't want all of these particular classes, so we'll move them later. I think the .org remove the target. Yeah, so we are including the target there, so it's not going to affect it when I push it to you. So you just have the artifacts. You have the complete package when it gets to you. So there we go. We have our application. This is going to error out obviously because we don't have this database connected to MySQL. We also don't have the password correct, as you will see. So yeah, entity factory design class back down. So what we need to do is create this database in our MySQL. So I'm using Workbench. Okay. It's going to take a bit. So okay, I see. Don't worry. Problem is that I turned off MySQL daemon. So when I start my laptop, it doesn't automatically run the MySQL daemon. So each time I need to use it, I will need to manually go and turn it on. It helps because when it's on like that, it consumes a lot of power since I'm not using it often, usually for local development for some time. So that's okay. Once I turn it on, then we have MySQL daemon running. Then I can now use the Workbench. As you can see, it's going to ask me for my password, of course, which is the same password which you're going to use. It's not really anything crazy. So I'm simply just going to get a new schema, create new schema, and I'm going to create that schema. And I'm going to apply. I'm going to apply. So we created a schema, which is this. Okay, and we just have a lot of stuff here. So clear that up. Yeah. Okay, if I create new SQL query, there we go. There we go. So we can use that. Now we are in there, which we did by double clicking. And now we have the database. So the user is root and the password, my password. It's nothing crazy. It's simply, of course, test 1, 2, 3. Don't worry, it's just for local development. There's nothing crazy about that. I change it all the time. But I think that configuration is good now. So yes, it is the source. So this is enough for local host. So this is the source of your database, which is calling the JDBC and MySQL, and then calling the local host at the port. If you know, MySQL is hosted at the port 3306. If you have somehow changed your port, then you change this port. Right? If your MySQL is hosted at a different port, then you change the port here. It's important. And your database name, you can change this to anything, but I'm just leaving it as it is. And then we have the driver, which of course must use the JConnector dependency in order to accept it, as we saw earlier. And then we have the data source username, that is the password of your database, your MySQL basically, and then your username, sorry, which most of the time is advisable to leave it at root, is local development, and then the data source. Okay, and then this one just allows us to, when we make changes, what should happen? It should update. Okay, rather, so it doesn't drop the entire table because there are multiple. So we have like drop, right? We have create and drop, and we have update, we have validate. So drop is what happens is, I think, when you end the application, right, it kind of drops the entire table. Create and drop, I think it's same thing. Create and then destroy the schema at the end of the session. Again, same thing. So update is the one we want to use, where update the schema if necessary. So we want to always keep the schema as we go forward. So at the end, we should have our setup done. There we go. And right now, You see, we have established our connection using our J connector, and the dialect is perfect, MySQL dialect. We use a database version which is our case is 8.038, and the database name, which is the schema, and auto commit mode, right? And we also have some different parameters which they tell us, and tell us the pool size, which of course we can define here. Right? I think we can define the pool size and that stuff. These are stuff which also come into play when we're trying to optimize, and depending on what you're doing, you have to play along with these parameters, right? So when we leave it like that, it doesn't really cause a problem when doing development. But I think in production, you need to play along it, and I think we'll see some changes down the line when we'll talk about, I think, optimization and other topics. So, and then you get the initialize or JPA factory entity, and then Tomcat started at 8080, right, and so on. So now we have a good application, and this is the first video. I don't want it to be too long, and we're going to make 2 practical sessions. I'm going to divide this video into 2, and in this particular session we have initialized a basic Spring application. We have connected it to our MySQL database. We have seen me make errors and reading through the logs to see a particular kind of error that I am making. Usually you see me focusing on when I get an error, you see me going to the red section and then reading down. You want to get some kind of information which is usually found around that state. But again, we have seen me work on the application.properties, and you've seen the format which properties are defined. You've seen me name the application. You've seen me say the port where it's going to start. So if I change to 8081 here, right, I start again, it is going to start at 8081. So any port you put there, the application is going to run on that port as long as the port is not used. So if you see, they say Tomcat started on port 8081. So those are very important things that we need to do. So this is the basic of a Spring application. You have already seen how I add dependencies in the POM file and how I try to resolve dependency, although this one wasn't the easiest and the best because of the target that we just added there. But luckily our trusted git ignore is going to allow me to push this code to you without you seeing the target, and that's the beauty about the git ignore and git. So that said, I'm going to end the session today, the session of today right here. And if you like this session, please give this video a thumbs up, comment your questions, or comment even thoughts about my approach. I mean, I already make some few mistakes. As you can see, it's a bit of struggling there. I have not stayed too long. It's just that most of the time I've been working on some machine learning projects, so it's been a while since I used it. Just not too long, just a few months, maybe about, you say, about 2 to 3 months since I last used Java, IntelliJ, Spring Boot basically. So there's a bit of trying to remember a few things. However, it is something that is always still fresh in mind, and you're going to see it evident. So until next video, stay tuned. I've been Ngane Emmanuel.